If you've ever wondered what manifestation is or how to get into it without going through hours of woo-woo videos or girls selling you courses or other bullshit, then this is the video for you. I have not been very motivated to make YouTube videos, mainly because I've been working really hard on my brand and I've just been busy and honestly working for an hour to get 22 views. It's a hard mental bridge to get over, but this is for my subscribers, so loyal viewers only. All right, first of all, what we're going to talk about in this video is a couple things. One, the process of manifestation, but first we're going to talk about what is manifestation, how do you know that it's working, and then the overall process that I've found it's a little bit different than everyone else, on how to make sure that it's accurate. Please ignore my pile of clothes in the corner. I've been spending every day in the warehouse and I have not had time to do laundry or actually bring my laundry basket back upstairs. So anyway, imperfect makes whatever. Okay, what is manifestation? If you have never manifested before, you're wrong. You actually have manifested before. I'm going to tell you a few different things. One, if you've ever started a diet, like you're cutting, not cutting yourself, but cutting for fitness, or if you're just wanting to lose a little bit of weight, you will notice that the very first day of your diet, almost every time without fail, someone is going to offer you food. And you could have gone weeks without being offered food, right? But the very first day that you start your diet, without fail, someone is going to offer you free food. Boss brings donuts, company's going to pay for a lunch out. It's almost impossible to avoid, right? It's gotten to the point where there were times when I was hungry in college and I would start a fake diet, just to get the free food. And it happened without fail. And you could say, well, that's just a coincidence, but it's not. What's happening is your brain is manifesting food for you. You're hungry, you're thinking about food constantly, and food manifests itself into your reality. A second thing is hearing songs that you just thought about or seeing things that you just thought about, weird things, small things. You might think, wow, I haven't seen a Bernstein Bears book in a while. And then one day later, you're at the thrift store and you see a whole collection of Bernstein Bears books. You manifested that. You did. You could say, oh, that's just a coincidence, that's serendipity. No, that is literal manifestation. If you've done that, if you've had any kind of synchronicity or coincidence like that, then you need to know that you are able to manifest. Now, what makes this more interesting when it comes to something like this is the fact that when you are manifesting random things around you, all you have to do is focus a little bit and work on your technique just a small amount, and you will create realities that you enjoy, that you are actually desiring. That sort of latent energy where your brain is just wanting to create things all the time. Like, you think, man, I haven't heard the song Dance Monkey in a while, and then you go to fucking Goodies or Marshalls and you hear Dance Monkey, that god-awful song. You kind of negatively manifest that into your life, right? Or sometimes you'll think about a bad thing. Oh man, I just realized I haven't changed the oil in my car for a while, or I haven't really even checked my tire pressure in my car for a while. Then all of a sudden you have a flat tire. You manifested something kind of bad into your life, okay? So this is why mental clarity, mental acuity, mental discipline are very important to master as you're going into manifestation, because as you make your ability to manifest stronger, you will also have the likelihood of, if you have negative thought patterns, creating negative realities. Okay, all right, moving on. What is manifestation? What is actually happening with manifestation? So this is my understanding of it. I'm not a quantum physicist. I'm not going to try and pretend that I am, because God knows enough manifestation people pretend to be quantum physicists without even knowing what like a Feynman principle is. So essentially, we are in a spot where we're rendering the world around us using our subconscious. Okay, that the world around you cannot be fully rendered all the time. That's just not how it works. So we talk about superposition. People can talk about living in a simulation. It doesn't really matter what you actually think about this. What does matter is the question if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, doesn't make a sound, the answer is there was no tree and there was no forest. If there's no one around, it doesn't really exist to an extent. Okay. Until you go, and if you are going expecting to see a tree fall and then it falls and you hear it, you've created that reality. Now, where things get weird is there's a lot of different people that are all manifesting different expected realities. People are all driving to work and they're expecting to make it to work without their car being hit by an asteroid, right? That's kind of a weird example, but basically, when you're interacting with a large amount of other consciousnesses, people do exist, you're not a solipsist, then things can get a little fucky. And people are all kind of like battling you with their own manifestations or their own expectations of what things are going to happen. So when it comes to manifestation, it's important to remember not to be telling other people before it happens what you're trying to do, or else you can add psychic drag to your process. So when you are walking around the world, you are basically navigating what is called quantum foam. There is around you this infinite nest of possibilities. Now, the further away from your reality that they are, probabilistically, the less likely they are to actually happen. An example, if you're expecting to find $100 million in a briefcase on the ground, that's probabilistically quite far from what you normally are doing. So it's very unlikely to happen, right? But if you expect to find a gift card for Starbucks on the ground, that's probabilistically pretty possible. Does that make sense? You're not going to find an ancient Egyptian relic in your grandmother's attic, unless your grandmother was an Egyptologist and British. So it's important to understand that manifestation in the quantum foam around you is somewhat probabilistic. This is why people have said, with magic or with manifestation, that it is a thumb on the scales of the universe. You really cannot create something wildly insane. You can't spew fire from your fingertips or fly or find a magic carpet or a genie in a lamp, but you can tilt the reality, tilt the probabilities of your chosen reality coming to you quite heavily. And if it's something that's already pretty likely, let's say a 1 in 10 chance, 1 in 5 chance, and you double that or triple it to a 2 to 3 in 5 chance, all of a sudden you have a massive advantage there, right? And this is why people can't manifest the lottery. Let's say your odds of winning the Powerball are 1 in 100 million, and you double that, right? You do a really good, let's say you 10x it. You're an insanely good manifester. You have very powerful focus, and you 10x your chance to win the Powerball. And you went from a 1 in 100 million to a 10 in 100 million chance. Are you going to win? Well, no. The answer is no. I'm not going to say no, but it's so unfathomably likely or unlikely that it's not going to happen. Okay? And trying to go for moonshot manifestations all the time, I want to be cast as the next Captain America, is going to just waste your time. It's going to frustrate you. So how do we actually manifest things into our life? How do we create the reality that we want? Well, there's 3 steps, okay? And I'm going to give you the hardcore physical steps you need to do in a minute. But these three pieces, these 3 bits of the recipe are important. First, focused will. You need to want it pretty bad, okay? And there's a few ways to tell if your will is focused. But if you don't want something bad enough, you're going to manifest nothing. It's not gonna work, right? So you need to have focused will. You need to have a clear outcome in mind, and you desire it. This is why the food manifestation works so easily. It's a primal thing. You want food. Your body's telling you want food. You think about food. Food appears. Okay. Whereas manifesting something more abstract, like a new job or the love of your life, which doesn't work, by the way, ends up just being frustrating because it's so hard to keep that specific, clear image in your head. There's a very famous manifestation saying, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. Or if you can hold it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. And that's true. Second, you need intention. What is your intention? What are you trying to do? So intention can also be seen as the path. How are you going to do this? If you want to be a bodybuilder, you need to work out. That's your path. You can't just wake up one day with muscles. That is not how this works. And if you're a Neville Goddard fan and you say, well, actually, he said that you can do it. He's a fucking idiot, okay? He doesn't know what he's talking about. He also said that you can jerk off and manifest, all right? Now, I mean, Osmond Spare said that too, so whatever. But the point is, you need a way for it to happen. At least a general idea. If you say, I'm going to be a screenwriter, you should probably live in Los Angeles, okay? And you should probably have a script written. No one's going to walk up to you and go, you look like a screenwriter. Would you write a script for me? I'm going to pay you $100,000 to write me a script in the next 6 months. No one's going to do that. That's fucking stupid, okay? It's just not, that's not how reality works. Now let's say you stumble across a wealthy widow with extreme dementia, and she wants to see a movie, and she thinks that you look like a screenwriter that she knew from the golden age of Hollywood, and she gives you $100,000 to write a script, even though you've never written a script before in your life. Yeah, sure, that's like a 1 in a trillion chance, and you live in fucking Omaha, Nebraska, and you're like, well, wow, this is amazing how this worked out. You can't manifest that, okay? That's complete raw, random luck. That's Schrodinger's success. So, this is such a rambling video. Whatever. Okay, moving on. Last ingredient you need, attention. You need to be able to continuously hold this in your head. This is why some people tell you when you're manifesting, you need to write it down 9 times a day. The writing doesn't do anything. It does just keep you focused on what you want. You can do lots of things. You can write on your mirror with lipstick. You can put up a post-it note. As long as it's something that you're continuously keeping your attention on, more or less your path, not necessarily the end goal, or the end goal is just something that you're keeping in mind. You need to continuously move towards it. All right, the point you've been waiting for. What are the steps? Now, I've used this consistently over the last couple of years to start manifesting some really cool things, and what's been interesting has been the caveat. There is a specific caveat in this, a warning that if you do not do this correctly, you're going to suffer from the monkey's paw. And I'll explain that. If you haven't read the book, The Monkey's Paw, it's very short. I think it's a short story, actually. It might be a short story. The monkey's paw is about this item called the monkey's paw, and it has, I think it's 5 wishes. And every time you make a wish, one finger on the monkey's paw curls. Here's the deal. Every time that you make a wish on the monkey's paw, it gives you that wish in a horrible way. For example, in the book, the father wishes for money. I think it's like £1,000, and he gets news the very next day that his son is dead, and that the factory that his son worked at will be paying him £1,000. Now, he wanted the money, but he didn't want his son to be dead, right? Another example, at the end of the book, he wishes for his son to be alive again, and then he hears a banging on his front door. Now, the book ends there, but you go, well, what the fuck was that, right? Was that a zombie? Is his son gonna come back in pieces? Like, what could possibly be the drawback here? So we're going to talk about the monkey's paw problem in manifesting first, but what are the steps? The first, a clear outcome. So you need to write down exactly what you want. Be specific. It's okay to be specific. If you're afraid of being specific, it means that you don't actually believe it's going to work, and that's okay. But you need to be specific about what you want. I want to get a new job doing this for this amount of money per year with these benefits. I want to get a new car with this color and these features, this type of car, right? You need to be specific about what you want. 2, a clear path. Think about wiring, right? we don't just have electricity arcing from our outlets to our devices. That's insane. Right? This isn't a Tesla universe. So there's wiring that the electricity passes through. You don't need to know all the specifics, but you do need to have a general idea of how something is going to come to pass. As an example, you should, if you're going to buy a new car, you should probably be shopping for cars, right? You need to go to dealerships or look at like Carvana. If you're not doing that, then you don't really seem like you're that motivated to actually get a car. Now, the wiring here is just like, how is this going to happen? You don't need to necessarily even worry about things like payment, like how am I going to pay for this car? Sometimes that works itself out, but the biggest thing is more or less, how are you going to get it? Third, this is the important part, sacrifice. You need to sacrifice for manifestation to an extent, okay? What are you going to do to help create an outlet for this? Now, this is something a lot of manifestation gurus are not going to tell you. If you are not adding a sacrifice, think of it like a vent, okay? Then what's going to happen is pressure is going to blow off this manifestation in weird and unpredictable ways, monkey paw ways. An example, I manifested my clothes to come early for my brand, right? But I didn't have a sacrifice. Now, sacrifices, I'm still working out how abstract they can be. Can I say, I want the clothes to come early and I'm going to do 500 push-ups, right? Is that a possible sacrifice? I don't know. I still need to do more work on this, but I manifested my clothes to come early. They did come early, but what happened? But one box of the clothes, an important box, was delayed by 2 days, which meant that as I started to pack the orders, some orders got delayed, then I had to go ahead and start packing orders at different times, and things get a little confusing, right? That was my payment there. And I don't know if this is related, my hats got delayed, so the beanies that I've ordered have been delayed until like the middle of March. That could be related because it is clothing and it is the timing related thing, so who knows. But you need to have a sacrifice of some sort in mind. If you're going to lose weight, you need to sacrifice by going to the gym. If you need to make more money, you need to sacrifice by looking for opportunities to make more money. Now you say, well, this just sounds like you're just doing something yourself. No, manifestation is creating a path for you. Correct? You are asking probability to align, but you need to walk that path yourself. Think of like a video game, right? When you're jumping and the like in Croc or Spyro, and the platforms are rising as you jump, and you just have to keep jumping and the platforms keep rising to meet you. That's manifestation. If you're not jumping, the platform's gonna collapse underneath you and you die. Okay? So you need to have a sacrifice of some sort. How this works, I'm not entirely sure. Usually the best way to do it is start by taking the steps that you think are necessary to make sure that your manifestation comes true. And then number 4, forget. You can just forget. And this is important. Because if you're thinking about what you're trying to manifest all the time, you can think about the outcome. But if you're thinking about, I want this, 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 you're reinforcing to yourself that you do not have it. And when you do that, all you do is you're blowing off all of your psychic energy, your free will, in thinking about how much you want something and how little you have it. And it just continuously reinforces your current reality. So the important thing is, forget what you are trying to manifest. Think about your end goal. I really would like a Bentley Bentayga. Okay. And then think about the path to get there, right? So I said to get a Bentley Bentayga, I'm going to get my clothing brand to $500,000 a month. Then the focus becomes the path, one step after another. Okay, now I have to do this for the brand, this for the brand, this for the brand, etc., etc., etc. And you're not thinking about, I need a Bentley Bentayga. Okay. So the 4 steps, one more time, are a clear outcome, a clear path, a sacrifice, forget. Outcome, path, sacrifice, forget. Okay? This is the important thing. How does this work? Let's say you want a new job that pays more. What is the sacrifice? You're applying for jobs every day. Focus on the exact outcome that you want. So what kind of boss, what kind of location, what kind of pay, what kind of job do you want? What are all of the features of this job that you would like? Okay? 2, what is your sacrifice? Well, this is an easy sacrifice. It's probably going to be applying for jobs every day. Now, how do you know it works? This is the important thing. How do you know it works? It works when you put in an application, you get a call immediately for an interview. You go to the interview, or you take the call for the interview, and it's a breeze. It feels natural. The interviewer vibes with you. Everybody likes you, right? And then what happens? They call you back. They immediately give you the job. It's the pay you want, the benefits you want, the location you want. Your boss is great. It's in the industry you want. And then people say, wow, you got your dream job. That's amazing. They don't know that you actually manifested that job. Now, you still had to do the work. You had to get up and get off the couch and actually go for it. But probabilistically, everything aligned to get you that job that you wanted. How do you know manifestation is working? This is the important part, the final chapter. You know that manifestation is working when you begin to feel inordinately lucky. It feels like everything you do succeeds. It feels like everywhere you go, you're being given things, you're being given opportunities. And it feels like everything that you want eventually makes itself known to you, or it makes its way to you. There is a way to eventually do this, or internalize this process so deeply that it becomes second nature to you. You don't even think about it. You don't need to write it down. You get your intention, you think about your path, you think about the sacrifice that will be made, you make the sacrifice, and it manifests for you almost immediately. Okay? When this is internalized for you, then this is why you have friends that have naturally internalized this, and they just seem like they're incredibly lucky and that everything they want just comes to them completely normally. Now, how can you practice this? The best way to practice this is with small things. Start small, because small, fast things are going to be much easier to manifest than trying to manifest gigantic things immediately. I want a brand new G class. Oh, it's going to require me to finish going to law school. Right? Oh, I want a brand new G-Wagon. I got to finish going to law school. It's going to be a 5-year endeavor. And by the time, you're going to forget about manifestation by the time you actually reach that goal. Start with something small. I'd really like a free coffee in the next 2 weeks. How are you going to get a free coffee? Well, what could your sacrifice be? I don't know. Maybe it's going to coffee shops. Maybe it's hanging around coffee shops. Maybe it's thinking about coffee all the time. Who knows? You can come up with a sacrifice, but you're walking around Walmart and you find a $10 Starbucks gift card laying on the floor, right? Or suddenly your mom takes you out for coffee. That's how you begin to build your strength. You build your confidence. When you build confidence, manifestation gets easier. Last thing, final warning. People say, oh, you can manifest your SP, your specific person. Manifest this person back into your life. Don't do this shit. It does not work on other people. Like I said, this is not solipsism. You are not alone in the universe, right? You are not the only human being that exists. You cannot manifest another person's behavior like you're playing Baldur's Gate and you're having someone, you're not clicking on a screen and having them run to you. That's bullshit, okay? Now what you can do is you can manifest specific changes in yourself to make yourself more palatable to the person that you want, but you cannot manifest another person to call you or text you or whatever. And anyone who tells you this is lying to you. I know this is a longer video, and I'm gonna have to do a lot of editing to actually make it palatable or useful for people, but I hope this helps. And if you start on your manifestation journey and you have questions, feel free to leave them below.